Those folks holding up the sign says one one kid is greater than all the guns is what the signs say. I went live early so that we could see that. But this session is going to start. It's supposed to start at 1 o'clock, and right now it is 12:51. So I'm going to let this go 9 minutes. I'm going to turn the mic off though, so you can hear me making silly noises. This is my
Between January and July of last year alone, 480 people
Yeah.
Luckily,
Oh, good for you. You've done this before.
I sweat a lot. So it says that population is 71.45 cells per every 1,000
To the Civil Justice Subcommittee for Tuesday, August 22nd, 2023. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Representatives Wolfo.
Here.
Kathleen. Eldridge. Here. Farmer. Grills.
Here.
Hill.
Here.
Lambert.
Here.
Parkinson.
Here.
Scott.
Here.
And Chairman Russell. Chairman, have a quorum.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we request everyone to take a seat. And if there's no seats available, make their way out to the viewing areas outside the hearing room. House rules also disallow the use of signs at committee. Please refrain from displaying signs during the committee hearing. Still see some signs. You can either exit the room or come up.
having a little discussion with the people.
And I will tell you this, if there's ongoing problem with these signs, we'll just clear the whole room.
Deny our First Amendment rights? About the ongoing problem? What about our First Amendment rights? We have rights to hold a sign. Not leaving.
Are guns still allowed in here?
Hold a
Trooper,
sign.
the third one back in the center needs to exit the room. The other one holding the sign up needs to exit the room. Yes, sir.
We have a gun. First Amendment rights. You have to drag me out, so be it.
All right, it's getting ugly. They're getting ready to drag these people out of here because they feel like
Is this what democracy
looks like?
Ooh.
No.
Wasting our time.
Is this what democracy looks like?
Y'all won't do this for people who bring guns to school. Have to drag me.
Sir, there's a lady back there holding the cell phone, standing up and blue to leave the room.
This is not what democracy looks like.
Not what democracy looks like.
The permit for the sign. What's the problem? Okay. The heroes are walking out.
All right, members, any personal orders or announcements? All right, first up is House Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got some constituents and supporters of mine in the room back there on the left. Please give them a round of applause. Thank you so much for coming and participating in your government. I appreciate it. Thank you.
President Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to thank all the moms and the people that are here fighting for the lives of children in the room. Thank you. Friends out there, Mr. Richard Archie, a friend of mine from over in West Tennessee. Thank you for being here, and some of your friends with you. Y'all are all welcome to come back any chance you get. We look forward to seeing you next time. But Mr. Archie's got a sick daughter, and I appreciate if everyone just keep her in their prayers whenever you say it tonight.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, we'll jump right into the calendar. House Bill 7072 by Speaker Sexton. And I will be presenting that one, yes. Do I have a motion in a second?
He's gonna hand the gavel.
And we'll hand the gavel down to Chairman Farmer.
All right, I think, Mr. Chair, members, that's motion in a second. Looks like we're on, for everyone out here, we're on item number 1, House Bill 7072. Do we have a motion? I got a motion second. Chairman Russell, your proper direction.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 7072 has the Administrative Office of Records, directs the Administrative Office of Records to define and develop a centralized computer system for case management, document management, electronic case filing, electronic payment methods, data reporting, and any other capable deemed necessary to collection and reporting of all state and local public case level data. Basically, it centralizes the way that the cases are reported to make it more efficient and real time instead of a long drawn out process. And the beginning will be January 3rd, the 1st, 2024.
All right, members, any questions for Chairman Russell? I believe it's something that we've already funded. It's been around 75 million, I believe, to bring our courts into this century with electronic filing and allowing them to communicate in a more efficient way. So I'll let members know that. Do you have any questions before we vote? Is there an amendment on this? I just didn't know.
But there's no amendment.
Very good. All right, members, are we ready to vote? Looks like we are. Any objections? Seeing none. All right, we're going to vote in House Bill 7072 for civil justice full committee. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Ayes have it. We'll move on.
All right, next up is House Bill 7003 by Leader Lambert. Do we have a motion? I got a motion and a second. Leader Lambert, you recommend.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you could roll me one space, please, just out of respect for Chairman White's time.
Without objection, roll one space. Next up, House Bill 7012 by Leader Lambert. We got a motion and a second. Leader Lambert, you are recognized. And Chairman White, you're recognized.
Thank you, yes, members, House Bill 7012, it did have an amendment that came out late, or not late, but came out just recently that rewrites the bill, 9541, on record.
We did have 9541, we did have a motion and a second. You are recognized on the amendment. Do we need to go ahead and add the amendment to the bill?
Up to the committee, I can explain it, it does rewrite the bill, so yes.
Any objection for going ahead and put it on there? Seeing none, we're voting on amendment 9547. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes prevail. Amendment has been. Chairman White, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman and committee. This bill came out of deliberation over the summer with the administration. It's entitled the Safe Storage Bill. It quite simply just does a few things, and I'll go over those. It expands the current Department of Safety's gun lock problem, provides budgetary investments. We have created a website and a program for more gun locks to be purchased. It also requires that all state approved handgun safety forces have a segment on safe storage. Now, the amendment that we just added, the only thing that the amendment changed is that any existing forces that have been previously approved by the department will be grandfathered in, as well as any new ones they come up with. The third item eliminates the sales tax on gun safety storage devices, and then it creates a public safety ad campaign on gun storage through the Department of TBI. Basically, we're putting out a lot more communication, as well as issuing gun locks for people that when you have a gun in your car, that you need to safely store it. That's the gist of the bill.
Thank you. Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Chairman, thank you for carrying this bill. I know this came from the governor's office, but it really comes from a conversation and several bills that you pushed over the years to try to encourage and give every incentive for folks to lock their firearms up. I mean, if you're not carrying your firearm on your person or using it, it should be locked up properly in a safe. You should have a gun lock, which are free through the state of Tennessee. They're distributed throughout the state. And this will ensure that gun safes are tax-free, right? Are tax-free. And I know Representative Sparks will be a part of the presenting group on this bill going forward, because he's carried that bill several times. And so we just want everyone to safely store their firearms, and I think this is a big step in the right direction. So thank you for carrying the bill.
Chairman White, you're recognized.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. That endorsement is exactly right. My home is Memphis, and this is very, very important to me, as well as the entire state. So thank you, committee, and I appreciate your support.
Anyone else? Chairman Representative Grills. Chairman Grills.
Thank you, Chairman.
Chairman White, just to make sure, I don't believe it's in here, but is there any part of this bill that would have any criminality for someone who does not lock their firearm in a safe in their vehicle?
Chairman White.
If there is not, that would be outside the code of what we call back in to do. It did not fit, so there is no criminality.
Thank you for that. I just wanted to make sure.
All right, anybody else on the list? We're now voting on House Bill 7012, and there's a correction on the amendment numbers 9541. And all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes prevail. Congratulations, Civil Justice School.
Very grateful for you.
Next up is House Bill 7079 by Leader Kent. I'm sorry, we skipped Leader Lambert. We had wrote him one space, so Leader Camper, we're going back to Leader Lambert. Sorry about that. And do we have a motion and a second for 7012? Leader Lambert, we got a motion and a second. Yeah, item number 3, 7012. Okay, 7003. Sorry about that. We do have a motion in a second. Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. It's been a few months since we've been in committee. I think we're all just kind of working through the motions here. This bill comes to me directly from a conversation that started several years ago with a young lady named Nikki Gillish. Nikki's husband was killed right in front of her at a restaurant right here in Nashville. And the killer of her husband continued to write her letters and send her cards from prison and was recently convicted of a federal crime for doing so. We created a lifetime order of protection for victims of violent crime and survivors of violent crime like Nikki, so that they would not have to go back to court year after year after year to have an order of protection renewed. One of the things that we left out, unfortunately, one of the crimes we left out was aggravated stalking. Someone commits a felony offense of aggravated stalking and is convicted of that offense, then the survivor, the victim of that crime, under this bill would be able to get a lifetime order of protection and would not have to go every year to renew that. That's all the bill does, Mr. Chairman. I would ask for your support.
Thank you. Any questions, Representative Gross?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Leader Lambert, you and I spoke about this earlier. Felony, section A there, it says felony offense, and then aggravated stalking, or especially aggravated stalking. What are the penalties for those crimes currently?
Leader Lambert? Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Yeah, just a moment. I'm going to wait until I make sure I give you a direct answer on that.
Chairman Russell, can we ask legal to give us a
Let's go out of session and just, Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Again, my memory was that it was an E and a C felony, but I wanted to check and just make sure in the statute. So it's an E felony, which is a range 1 would carry 1 to 2 years in prison, and a C felony would carry 3 to 6 years. That says range 1, and it goes up from there.
Representative Gross.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And these are already felons, so they have a felony following them throughout their life. And that's it. Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 7003 by Leader Lambert. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes prevail. 4-7. Next up, Leader Kemper, 7079. Do I get a motion and a second?
Motion.
We got a motion and a second. Leader Kemper, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee. Mr. Chairman, what this bill does is a firearm safety device bill. And what we're trying to do is require that any federally licensed firearms builder to provide the purchaser the firearm device, our safety device on the weapon. It's designed to prevent the weapon from being fired without deactivating the safety device. We've had a lot of children that have found the weapon at home, and if this device is on there, it would save lives because the child will not be able to disarm it and not fire the weapon on someone unexpectedly. So it's designed to protect our children. The fiscal note is not significant, and I would hope that you vote move this bill out this May. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any questions for Leader Kemper? Any questions? Representative Gross.
Thank you, Chairman. Leader Kemper, it's my understanding that every firearm manufacturer, when a firearm is purchased, comes with a trigger lock or a safety device with that. Are you aware of any that do not offer those?
Leader Kemper.
I wanted to specifically address, I know we do it here in Tennessee, the leaders mentioned that earlier. I want to make sure that any federally licensed ones do the same, and that's what I'm trying to accomplish with it.
Representative Gross.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, the laws we pass here in Tennessee will only affect those in Tennessee, will not affect federally. It will be those that are sold here in Tennessee. Like I said, I do not know of any gun manufacturer that does not offer one with a firearm when they are purchased. There is one that I'm not aware of. I'd be interested in knowing about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 7079. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Bill fails.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Next up, House Bill 7050 by Representative Clemens. We got a motion?
Motion.
And a second. I got a second. Got a second going twice?
Motion.
Second going third. Bill fails, like I say.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Next up, House Bill 7001 by Representative Thompson. We got a motion. We got a motion. We got a second.
Okay.
We have a second going twice. Second going third then. Bill fails, like I say. Yes, sir.
I just want to appeal to the members. Members, I'm for hearing all of the bills, all of the legislation. I'm talking to the chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I wasn't, thank y'all, but I wasn't really doing it for that. But I'm willing to, I'm open to, I want to hear all of the bills. And I don't care if it's a Republican bill or a Democratic bill. I don't mind giving a motion and a second to a Republican bill. But please allow us to at least to hear the bills. And if you don't like the bills, let's just vote them down if you don't like them. But at least, if y'all will, just have an open mind, please, to, I'm the only Democrat on this committee, and just have an open mind to give these other members a second, just so that their bills can be heard. It won't kill us to hear. And thank you.
Yeah, this follows that, and I want the public to know this. And as a member, I've been here for 11 years. And when I have a bill in front of the committee, it could be full of Republicans and one Democrat, full of Democrats and one Republican. But I make phone calls and I talk to those members before committee starts, and I line up my motion and my second. I was on the phone with several members in between House sessions this morning, the time the calendar I put out on committee, and several members called me and said, "Hey, can you give me a second?" They were working their legislation. I didn't hear from any of the two members, any of the three members that are receptive. They didn't work their bills, or at least they didn't call me. They didn't call me. I'm not aware if any of the members were called and asked. I'd be happy to know that. But you've got to work your legislation if you want your legislation to pass.
We'll tell that to the judge.
Listen, please, we're going to conduct the state's business, or we're going to clear the room, okay? It's your last warning.
And Chairman, thank you, Mr. Chair. And Chairman Foreman, I completely understand that. And you're right. The challenge is, I didn't even get a call from them either. The challenge is that we're in a bit of a condensed time right now, and it's hard to get to every member of the committee. And I'll try my best to get to members of criminal committee, but these committees are coming up also. So I had to email my talking points to them and hope they give it consideration. So it's a little bit different situation.
Thank you. Next up is House Bill 7005. Representative Bolzo. We have a motion and a second. Representative Bolzo, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, would amend Tennessee Code Section 49-50-803 to provide that a private pre-K through 12 school could adopt its own firearms policy. Under current law, a private school that is K through 12 is statutorily authorized to adopt its own firearms policy. The genesis of this bill is that after the tragic shooting at Compton on March 27th, a small private school in our district was advised by the Department of Education that because they were a pre-K through 12 school, that they could not adopt their own firearms policy. So what the effect of this proposed bill is to do is simply to expand the statutory language from K through 12 to pre-K through 12. And I will also point out, Mr. Chairman, that we were able to obtain an opinion from the Attorney General, General Scometti, that even under the law's current language, the Attorney General's office would interpret 49-50-803 already to include pre-K through 12. So what this bill does is provide the needed clarity and the force of law to make sure that there's no question but that any private school in the state, pre-K through 12, can adopt its own firearms policy. And that's the point of the legislation, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any questions for Representative Wilson? All right, seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 7005. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Bill passes 0-4. Next up, House Bill 7028 by Representative Gillespie. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
We got a motion. Do we have a second? Second going once, going twice. Bill, we got a second. Representative Gillespie, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What this does is really under current law, if you're involuntarily committed to a inpatient facility, at the time of your release, you're supposed to be, or the facility's supposed to notify law enforcement. This clarifies that it should be no more than 3 business days after, and would apply to hospitals and all inpatient facilities. And it basically just says that when that person is released, the court clerk and law enforcement in the county that they either reside or where the institution is located, if they're not from Tennessee, they have to be reported. That's really what it is. With that, I welcome any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Representative Gillespie? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill Leader Lemon. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Representative, what would the kind of actual real world effect of this change be?
Representative Gillespie, you're recognized.
I honestly could not hear you. I'm sorry.
Leader Lemon.
That's a first for me. So what would the real world effect of this be? So if we change the law in this mechanism, what would this actually do?
Representative Gillespie.
Thank you. So it's my understanding that I don't want to say a lot of times, but there have been times where there's been a person, let's say, that live in Fayette County, and they're at the Memphis Psychiatric Institute, downtown Memphis. And when they were released, under current statute, Memphis Police Department is notified, but the person doesn't live in Memphis. So this would require Fayette County to be notified, or wherever they reside, as opposed to just the physical location of where the facility is located. My understanding.
Leader Lemon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. How does the facility know where the individual resides? Is that determined by just a driver's license, or how do they determine that?
Representative Gillespie.
That, I mean, I would imagine every scenario is different, but I would imagine there's some sort of, there's got to be some sort of ID check, fingerprint, because if they're being involuntarily committed, I would think that there's some sort of criminal type identification procedure through the National Criminal Identification System or something like that. I don't know how that's gathered each individual instance, but I can get that for you.
Any follow-up, Leader Lemon? All right, seeing no further questions, we're voting on House Bill 7028. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Congratulations, Civil Force.
Thank you.
Next up, House Bill 7043 by Representative Barrett. I got a motion and a second. Representative Barrett, you are recognized.
Let's see if I remember how to work this microphone. Mr. Chairman, members, thank you for that. House Bill 7043 comes to me from a constituent, and this bill was designed to build off of the work that this body did back in the spring session, where we funded SROs for every single school, public school in the state. And unfortunately, what we're learning is some of these school districts are having a hard time filling those positions. So between the school districts and the law enforcement agencies in those areas, they're having a hard time filling positions. So this bill was designed to be a stopgap measure to allow any district in the state or any enhanced carry permit holder in the state in a situation where the district was unable to provide armed security or an SRO, the ability for those enhanced carry
do in situations where the people that work in that school and the children that are there would have people with enhanced handgun carry permit holders be able to stand in the gap and provide first response in those in situations where something terrible happened, like we experienced recently in Nashville. Now, I've had tons of great conversations about this bill with several stakeholders, including the University of Tennessee, Tennessee Education Association, and there's some tweaks to this bill that need to be made. So unfortunately, under this condensed time frame, I'm not ready to present it right now. So I'd like to roll it to the next day of the calendar. So that everybody involved has the ability to get this language tweaked, work together to make sure that we get the right bill out before it gets too far down the road. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to roll it to the next bill.
Would it be all right to take it off notice since we're in special session?
That would be just fine.
Thank you. Without objection, off notice.
Thank you.
House Bill 72. Are we going to quiet down and listen, or are we going to sit there and quiet? Troopers, let's go ahead and clear the room.
Fucking kidding me? Oh, come on, dude.
Chairman, would it be possible to just clear the half that's causing the trouble?
There you go. I don't know that we can determine the half, so let's just clear the room.
This is like fucking unbelievable.
No, they had, this is their third time. Troopers, clear the room.
I'd be embarrassed, man. I would be fucking humiliated.
That's not democracy. That is not democracy.
It's unbelievable.
Everybody out.
God, I would be humiliated. I'm going with them.
I'm going with people. I'm with people. We're going with you.
Not a democracy, y'all. Not a democracy.
Y'all not afraid to hear what Tennessee is saying?
Whose house? Our house. Whose house? Our house. 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 Our house.
I don't know what I served for.
Our house.
And I think Air Force, I don't know what I served for.
Our house. Our house. Our house. We're here because we fear for our kids' lives. That's why we're here.
And we are too. Yeah, the one.
I know you don't like feelings or philosophy, but when you were children, this is not who you wanted to grow up to be. This is not who you dreamed about growing up to be when you were children. Ma'am, these are Covenant School parents. They should have been able to stay. They're all now having to leave. Because of I think it's Can we stay for her testimony? We don't say anything. We don't do anything. We got on your way. We got on.
Excuse me, got to testify. We'll come get you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, right now, y'all are good.
You were gonna.
Yeah.
Sure. Yes, sir. Good.
All right, where were we? Item number 10, House Bill 7054 by Representative Littleton. Carried by, actually, Chairman Faison has it. We got a motion and a second. Chairman Faison, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, committee. When the tragedy that took place this year happened, I started hearing thoughts about safe storage. I spent some time with Tennessee Department of Safety, and I learned from the Tennessee Department of Safety that over the last 2 years, close to 10,000 guns have been stolen out of Tennessee cars through something called smash and grab. The individuals who are looking to steal a gun, they're working on seconds, and they know that seconds matter. If they will leave stuff of value right there beside them, they'll literally attach to the stuff of gold. They'll leave it because their whole intent is to get a firearm. Also, working with the Department of Safety, I understand that it creates a problematic situation when you have a victim of a crime to also make them a criminal. So there's an abundance of argument to say that you can't criminalize a person for not locking up. That being said, I still thought if we've had close to 10,000 guns stolen in 2 years, basically between 3 of our big cities, is there anything we can do that would encourage people to, when they leave their car in a public parking spot,
But they shouldn't just have a lot box or put it in a safe or have a lot box or something. So I came up with the notion of giving them civil immunity. I have seen where, for instance, in Indiana, a guy left his pistol sitting on the seat of his truck. It was stolen that day. The guy who stole it killed somebody with it later on that day. The family sued the guy for carelessness and won in civil court. So this bill just seeks to say, if you do, it's like a carrot I'm presenting to Tennesseans. If you do lock your gun up while it's in public parking spot, then you will have civil immunity for this. And that's, you can see it's a one paragraph bill.
Representative Parkinson, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chairman, for bringing the bill. Can you explain to me what determines a weapon being locked up?
Chairman Clayton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, gentlemen, for Shelby County. If you see it, subsection with A, 39171313, it talks about being locked in a trunk, being put in a mobile safe, being put in a glove box.
Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's all right.
Any other questions for Chairman Clayton? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 705. Representative Gross, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Fagan, would it be possible that if we were to pass this, to offer civil immunity to someone who does lock their weapon up in a car, for someone who does not, would that put them at a stronger risk for being sued and being liable in that lawsuit?
Chairman Fagan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chairman Rusty, from my understanding, that would be called creating a cause of action. Me talking with legal and with attorneys, I've heard that does not create a cause of action because they already have the ability right now to sue for that. So this doesn't create a new cause of action because we're asking something reverse. But if the chair would like to go to legal, if on record.
Representative Mills, would you like to go out of session, please?
That would be great, because I believe that works under a preponderance of evidence rather than a reasonable doubt. Is that correct?
We'll go out of session and hear from legal. Legal, you recognize.
Michelle Fogarty, Legal Services. The bill simply says that a person is not liable in a civil action if they have properly stored their firearm in accordance with 39171313. It does not do anything, doesn't state anything in regards to anyone's general right to file a civil action against someone for negligence. And whether or not the person is negligent is a question for the finder of fact.
Representative Grills.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do you feel like, though, that it could, by not necessarily addressing it, but being silent on it, do you feel like that could make it, put it in a worse posture? If you will? I don't know exactly the right way to ask the question, but I think you understand what I'm wanting to know.
Legal, you recognize.
I can only say that person can already sue someone for negligence if they feel that they have negligently stored their firearm. Doesn't happen. Someone can already file a civil action for negligence on those.
Any other questions for legal? Seeing none, we'll go back to session. Any other questions for Chairman Faison? Representative Bullock.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Faison, in addition to the excellent legal analysis from Stowberry, are you aware that under current law in Tennessee, that a criminal act actually breaks the chain of causation that can give rise to a civil action unless the criminal act was foreseeable? So that if in fact you had a party that owned a gun who left it on the front seat and it was stolen from them, that person would be liable, but only if A, a jury found him negligent, B, the criminal act itself was foreseeable, such that the statute that you've got actually provides an incentive for folks to lock that gun, because it avoids having to lead to the uncertainty of a trial, whether the activity that was engaged in the weapon was in fact sufficient to break the chain of causation suitability.
Chairman Faison. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Bozo, that's my desire is to have the bill prove that they were not negligent. We live in a world that you can get sued for anything. And I'm trying to offer a care to Tennessee and say, you won't have to prove that you were negligent. Person Bozo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So that if the committee, the subcommittee actually pushes this out to the full, the way the law in Tennessee would be is this. Right? If you, citizen, have a gun, and you fail to score it, as required by 39-17-13-13, you could be liable if a jury would have found that in fact you were negligent, and that the intervening foreseeable act, a criminal act, was foreseeable. But if you go to the extra step of securing it out of view when you're in the car and locking it up in a trunk or a glove box when you're not in the car, then you have done all that you reasonably under the law you expected it to have done, such that you're entitled to this immunity. So that the accurate.
Chairman Faison. Thank you, Chairman. Representative Bozo, you do a fabulous job explaining my bill better than I do. Thank you.
All right, I don't have anybody else on the list. We're voting on House Bill 70. Representative Eldridge.
Just so I'm clear, if my car is in the parking lot and I have a gun stored in the glove box or the console or in the trunk, you're considering that to be secured inside of my locked car, is that right?
Chairman Faison. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Eldridge, that is correct. That's the understanding of what this bill would do.
Thank you.
All right. Leader Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And is it the intent of the sponsor for that to cover be inclusive of everything that is in subsection A?
Chairman Faison. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Leader Lambert, that's correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions? And Mr. Kevin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just to clarify some misnumbers, this is not a requirement, correct, Mr. Chairman?
Chairman
We're not
Faison.
requiring anyone to.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Capley, this is not a requirement. There's no civil penalty. This is a carrot.
Great bill. Thank you, sir.
All right, we're going to try this one more time. House Bill 7054. Any more questions? We're voting to send it to the civil floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes prevail. Civil floor. Congratulations. Next up, item number 11, House Bill 7064 by Representative Todd. We got a motion and a second. Representative Todd, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this bill makes it possible for law-abiding citizens that are either off-duty or retired police officers, active duty or retired military, as well as those that are having an carry permit to be able to
I'm going over to a different Senate room.